OK Fixer here, and up really early. Been traveling for about an hour. About to see the sunrise in another half hour. Going down south to look at some Volkswagens. Don't know if I can video down there or not. I'll ask him. And a lot of the times people are private. They don't want anybody to see anything. But he has several down there, and a bunch of engines also, pieces of engines and stuff. Don't quite know what he has. Don't know a lot about it. But we got the trailer on the back. We're headed south. I'm at this guy's place in Texas. He's got a whole bunch of engines and stuff, and we've got a number engine. It's before the B series. It might be a J. It's a 1300 is what it is, but can be made to a 15, or it's the modern engine essentially. I'm gonna get that one, and this is a B engine, and it's got bus lugs on it, but it's for 70. So we'll search around, see what else he has. See that 66 that they're loading right there? That was pretty clean. It went for 300 bucks. There's all these cars in here are pretty clean as far as the rust. They're pretty dry. But I don't want a Super. I don't want a Ghia. Most of them are missing the front ends or the rear ends. I have no way to get them on my trailer. That's the problem. So it would be okay if, man, it's a lot of work though to get it on the trailer. So I'm just going to pick up a few odds and ends. I got these two engines, and I've got some other things, and I'll show you when I get done. Here's a 66. It needs floor pans. The rockers are good though. The rockers are clean. It's pretty dry. Pretty dry. I offered him $200 for this if he had all the parts here, you know, hood and whatnot like that. But he doesn't. But he would have took it. So he'd probably take less than $200 for this car. But it's a 6-volt car. That's the whole problem with the 6-volt car. I don't know anything about 6-volt cars. I mean, yeah, but it's not my, that's not in my wheelhouse. Actually, this is not 66. This is 64 older. Yeah, sorry. What was I thinking? He doesn't know either. So, there you go. I don't know if you find fenders and stuff like that for it. And a trunk lid for it, but you can't. But the way it sets, I guarantee you take $100 for this thing, and it's clean. See, where it's usually all blown out, kind of stuff. It hasn't been swat. It hasn't been hit in the front either. It's in pretty good shape. But anyways, I'm collecting tin. I found the mother lode over here if you're type 3 guy. But I got some tin, and I'm still looking around. So the problem with most of these cars is they're missing the rear ends and stuff. There's an auto stick car, so that's going to be 68 or 9, blown out right there. Like the way the car sets, I guarantee you get for $50 or $100. So, not interested in it. It's okay. Here's a, I guess a 71 or 72 or something like that. Oh, it's a Super. So, a lot of stuff. I'm just, Yeah, I just got to pass on. That's a 65 or 66 right there. 66, I think, 1300. It hasn't been hit up front. On this side, anyways. Nope. Still pretty clean. Nah. It's a little roached inside. Yeah. Yep. Good God, have they got some evil plants here in Texas. The very tip of that right there is like a razor. Don't poke your shoes into it. I know why cowboys wear boots now and not tennis shoes. Terrible. And then don't step on one of those, where are they? One of those mesquite bush thorns. Oh my God, they're like this long. I put one through my tennis shoe, just missed my foot. Terrible. Okay, this is all the damage I can do. I got a valve cooler, or a valve cover. I got a valve cooler and an oil cover for that engine. I got a starter. I think I got 2 starters here. Thought I had 2 starters. What did I do with the other starter? Anyways, I swear I got 2 starters here. I got some various tin pieces. Got a distributor, a new condenser. I got this piece, which is, you know what this is for? It's so you don't have to bolt the whole transmission to your engine. Pretty slick. Flywheel, and it's been cut for the 8 dowel. I got an extra 1300cc head because they have smaller heads. They're essentially the same, but they've got a smaller cut for a 1300cc barrel. You can put different heads on them. If one of those heads is bad, I got an extra head. I got generator. Well, there's the other starter. Various bits of tin, and it's all German too, which is pretty cool. 2 fan shrouds, water bottle, and I did get those 2 engines. Again, this is a 1300. It's a J engine. It's the new engine that came out in 65. So this is either for 65 or 66, but it's 1300. And it's got the smaller heads on it, like the smaller diameter heads, and it has 1300cc barrels. You can put different cylinder heads on it and upgrade it to the 85.5. And this is a B case for a bus, 70 model. And the reason why I know it has a mustache bar attachments to the front, that's tapped out of the case. So, but this would be fine in a 70 because it's a B model case. Only got one heat exchanger, one decent heat exchanger. Couldn't find any more, but there's 2 nice heat exchangers on this one. Nice and greasy. That's the way you want them. Okay, let me try to get my treasures back home, pay for them, and we'll get going. Okay, we're back in the garage, and I've got the B case engine there, and I've got this F case engine, which is an F for failure. It's for a it's F0. So this is going to be a 65 or 66 engine. This is supposed to be a 1300. It has some telltale things that make it an older engine, as the heat pipes are small. And I think it only has one heat pipe that goes up because the 67 had 2. So it only has one heat pipe. It has a specific apron that goes around it. I'll have to look and see, but when I take this flywheel off, and I'm going to, or this pressure plate off, we probably don't have a 200 millimeter disc. We probably have a 180. So it might be still a 6 volt, a 6 volt flywheel. I think it's the same as the 12 volt flywheel, but it's just a different bore, if that makes sense. I'll have to have a look. I know it has I know it has the new flywheel. It doesn't have the 40-horse flywheel, but I think it still has the 180 millimeter clutch. May be wrong. I may be wrong. I can't remember how that worked. We're looking at this, and there's a couple of things I want to show you. First thing, it's locked up, but it turns just slightly, if you notice. It'll turn just a little bit. Okay, we're going to stop right there. There's some things that might be stopping us from turning it over. Let's examine the fossil evidence first. First thing, this engine isn't in the car. There's a reason why it isn't in the car. Either it's failed, or the guy who had the car and the car was junk took the car out of it, or took the engine out of it, because the engine, he knew the engine was still good. Don't know. Okay, some other things that'll make them stick. This has a bunch of dirt down here, down in the distributor hole. So I need to clean that out, and I need to put a distributor in there. Because if the gear has, or if the drive has popped up, it'll bind, and it won't. So you want a distributor in there before you go and try to turn it over. Another thing that'll make it bind is valves. So what we're going to do, we'll have a look at these valves, and what we'll do is we'll take the rockers off and the push rods, and we'll make sure the valves, we'll tap on the valves and make sure with a rubber hammer, make sure they spring back, make sure they're not stuck. Could have a stuck valve. And then of course, it could have seized up pistons because it got moisture in it. It was in a garage of sorts, a garage, sort of. You've seen the garage. It was yeah. And so we'll have a look at this. This engine looks beat. If you look at the inside of this, it's got a bunch of burnt oil. It has a massive oil leak, and it's got oil cooked off all over down there. The cylinder heads are really dirty. So this one might be on its way out, but we'll see if we can't break it free, and we'll see if we can't make it run. Let's see what happens. The reason why I want to take these, boy, that makes a lot of noise. Isn't that something? There you go. The reason why I want to take these off is because if you have a stuck valve and you're trying to turn it, it's pushing on that valve, and it may not open. And like see, like this one right here, these are all the same height, but this one is down a little bit. This valve is stuck, and the piston might be hitting it. That might be our problem right there. I might even whack it and the stem break off of it. This is looking terrible because what we have is a bunch of, we don't have nice oil, we have a bunch of glue. So it might have more problems than that. Okay, let me get the other side off also, and then we'll tap on some valves. You can tell you have 3 valves and then one's down a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to spray a little bit of lube on that valve stem right there. And we're going to see if it'll spring back. There she goes. Try this one. Let's hit them all with some lube. There she goes. And this engine's it's not really thick, but it is quite black and greasy, but it's not really thick, so it might have had a valve job at one time. Not too bad. Okay, let's try the other side because there's a couple of sticky valves on the other side also. I'm only seeing that one being stuck. This one here was stuck also, and I think me pounding on the other side of the engine kind of loosened it. So I'm going to spray all of these. And then let's give them a tap. Let's see if we can't bring that to life. Or if the head snaps off. This one is not returning. Well, it did a little bit there. Okay, so I'm going to work on that a little bit more. But I also want to take this flywheel off, and I want to take these spark plugs out too, and I want to get some oil down those cylinders before I try and turn it. And get the flywheel off, because if I can turn it with the 36, it's a lot better than turning the pulley, because you'll over tighten that or snap it off, and if you turn it the other way, it'll unloosen it. So let's work on that a little bit more, and we'll get this flywheel off and these spark plugs out. Put a little heat on those heads, because these don't like the idea of coming out. So I'm going to warm those heads up a little bit. This is just propane, it's not MAP. Sorry about that. Get in your way like that. So, you know, we're going to put 30 or 40 seconds of heat on that. We'll shoot it with some more blaster. And I'll come back to you. All right, ironically, number 3 came out the easiest. So we'll have a look at that first. And here's number 3. No threads. That's good. Let's have a look at number 4. And the spark plugs look good too. Again, number 4 came out, still smoking. No threads, so that's good. Have a look at number 1. Number 1 has a little rust on it. Has a bit of rust on it. But again, no threads came out. And the spark plugs look almost new. And number 2. Number 2 looks new. No threads came out with it. So we're good there. We've got rust in this cylinder though. So now that we have that open, let's shoot a little lube down it. That is the cylinder with the valve that is stuck. So we'll see if we can get her broke loose. Probably that's the cylinder. The piston is stuck. It's got a little rust in it. That's what's wrong with it. Probably. And that valve is probably stuck because it was pushed open. So, but so far so good. Not too bad. Not too bad. Could be worse. I've seen worse. All right, I have a 200 millimeter disc, and we'll pull this off and see if this is a 180 or a 200. And I previously said pull the flywheel. We're not going to pull the flywheel. We're pulling the pressure plate. It has the old style mouse trap, which is perfectly fine. A lot of the times these are much better than the jack-in-the-box Saks jobs they sell nowadays. And that is, as soon as you just touch the clutch, it just leaps out. These are a little bit more progressive, and it does indeed look like it is a smaller clutch, but I could be wrong. Looks like it's got a lot more meat there than I'm used to. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is a 180 millimeter clutch. Look at that tiny little clutch disc. Isn't that great? This can all be changed too because it has the new engine, so you can put a bigger flywheel on it with a 200 millimeter disc. You can see the difference. Quite a bit different, quite a bit more clutch, which was great. These were great for 40 horsers, but not for 50. So, you know, let alone 53 to 60, you know. So, it does indeed have the old style flywheel and 180 millimeter clutch. So they did not change this out. So probably this car was still 6 volt. At least the starter was. So I don't know if you can bolt a 12 volt starter to this. I don't know if we'll find out, because I'm going to bolt this 12 volt starter to it and see if it'll work. So, you know, it might be. They might have changed it all over to 12 volt in the car. I don't know. But it wouldn't interest me to have a 66 car because I know nothing about 6 volt system. I do, but it's not my forte, see, so that's why, yeah, anyways. Okay, let's put a bar on there and see if we can't make it move a little bit. Okay, now I have this engine unburdened by what has been, so I think I could turn it a little bit. That goes one way. We're just going to work that back and forth. Might have a dropped valve, so I don't know. Don't know. Yeah, getting a telephone call. I'll let you go. Okay, I'm back. Let's see if we can get this to accommodate us a little bit. Let's see if that's turning. Yeah, the distributor's turning. Let's try this way. Let's try this way. It might be that valve is stuck. The piston's on that, but it should turn the other way. Okay. Let's see here. Let me shoot a little more spray down there. Sorry about that. All you're getting is my backside. Pretty sure that's the one that's offending us, but let's shoot all of them really good. We still have that valve that's hanging up, so I'm hoping that it's not bent. Probably is. Now you just get my shoulders. That's not good. Yeah. Okay, let me work on this a little bit more, because that's just going to bore you. I took the intake off because I wanted to see how much crap was in it, and there's a considerable amount of junk in it, especially what looks like it's just some white calcium looking. It might be from a mud dauber or something, but it's awful chalky. It's weird. I don't know what it is. But here's what I've deduced about this engine. Okay, here's our valve, and I pounded our valve all the way in, and it's not moving. It won't move. But I checked, and so you've got movement here, and you've got movement here, and here. But you have no movement here. And what you've got is it's either broken the piston or it's thrown a rod in number 4. Or rather, I should say number 1. Number 1. There's no movement there at all. So probably that valve there has made contact with that piston. I'll tear it down, but I'm not going to tear it down and video it. Maybe I will. I'll video. I don't know if I'll post it or not. But this engine has thrown a rod or broke a piston. Is it still good? I don't know. You'd have to get in and see what kind of damage it's done to the case. Are the heads any good? I don't know if that valve is bent or it won't come back because it's bent. I might be able to put another valve, and I do have another head. But I do have a crank, which means I have the crank gear, and I have the cam and the case that goes with it. The whole thing about these engines is you need 3 things to this engine. You need a cam that's hobbed to that gear that fits the case, and then it doesn't make noise. This engine here, they ran it out of oil or didn't change the oil in it. Probably ran it out of oil because it's got tremendous leaks. Or they got it hot and it threw a rod. So there you go. Kaboom. All right, well, let's get the next one up on the bench. This one's a boat anchor. As a follow-up, when I do tear this apart, the problem is if I tear it apart, this is it probably doesn't have an 85.5 bore. It probably has the 1300 cc bore, which is, I don't know what it is. It's not my forte. Okay, it's the right engine. It's the new engine, but it's a 1300 cc. So if it had thrown a rod and I was able to get the cylinder off, I have another rod, but another cylinder and piston, the only thing I have is 85.5s, with 1600s. So it doesn't make any sense unless I got another, but I'd have to take it apart again. And then I've got another head for it and stuff. I'd still like to see if this would run if I did that, but I don't have a smaller piston and cylinder. So, I mean, if any of you guys out there got a smaller piston and cylinder, you want to send it to me, I'll give it a shot. But I don't know. Okay, let's get this other one. Let's get this other one up there, and we'll take this one down. All right, we got this other engine up on the stand, and it is indeed, serial number is a B50 blah, blah, blah. Okay, B denotes it's going to be a 1970 engine, And it's going to have dual relief, one in the front, one in the back. I did kind of clean out the distributor drive just a little bit, and I kind of poked through the hornet's nest in the oil galleries and blew them all out in advance, and it does indeed turn. I don't know if it makes full revolutions or not. So let's have a look under our valve covers and see what we have there. Often this will tell you if the engine has ever had oil changes or not, if it's been sitting in rust or not, or in water rather. Well, we got a little rust there. And let's get a flashlight and have a look. The head looks to be pretty clean, actually. It looks to be pretty clean. So this one might be pretty good. It's got a little rust on it, but I don't think it's from, I think it's just from sitting in a moist area. I don't think it's from there. We're going to take this intake off too, because I've seen that other one had a whole bunch of crap in there. We'll take these spark plugs out, and we'll take that other valve cover off and look at it also. All right, here's our known good distributor. We're going to oil this up a little bit here. Kind of knock all that crap off of there best way we can. You know, here's the thing about this is I'm not looking for an engine that I'm going to put right in a car. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for a candidate for rebuild. And oftentimes if you can make them run, then you'll be able to take them apart and you can rebuild them. If they run, you know, and they don't have a rod thrown in them, you know, you can kind of make them work. That other engine, that F engine, if I had another piston, I would attempt, let's see if I can find a nut for that. I would attempt to make it run, take it apart, and fix it. The problem is, I don't know what's in it. I won't know until I take it apart. I'm not going to do that right now. I'll do it on another video, I guess. Let's have a look at this other. Oof, a lot of crap there. A lot of oil, kind of a muddy oil. Nasty, sludgy mess in there. But I think because it has been on its side, and it's highly possible it may have got a little water in it. But that's not going to stop us. That is a little crusty, isn't it? It's a little crusty, but that's not the big problem at all. In fact, the cylinder is rather clean. Really clean, like somebody's put heads on it just not too long ago. So this engine might have been pulled because it was a good engine, and then it sat in the garage and got a bunch of junk in it. All right, let's get this intake off, and let's get these spark plugs out. Got one that's given us a little trouble. Sorry, put my head in the way. There's a little heat to that. This would be number 2. All the rest of them kind of cracked loose pretty easy. Soak that a little bit. Work that back and forth. Let's see here. There she is. That's nice. Warm. Plug looks like pretty good shape, and no threads came out. That's going to be number 2. Try number 1. Number 1 came out really nice. Looks not a very old plug. Let's have a look at number 3. Come on, let me go. Number 3 seems to be pretty good shape. No rust. No threads. Oh, look at that. Came right out. And number 4 came out pretty nice too. No threads. And that plug looks pretty good also. All right, let's get a little lube down those cylinders. Here we go. I need to put a bolt on a distributor, or a nut right there on a distributor so it doesn't jump out. I'm going to kind of spray them valves a little bit. Spray them rockers a little bit. Just a little. Hit those bolt nuts around that intake. All right, let me get a nut on that distributor, and let me get this intake loose, and we'll have a look what's underneath it. I've always tried to, if I'm going to start one of these, is examine any place that hornets or mice can get as far as the entryway into the engine. And this it didn't have a carburetor on it, so you know, who knows what's in here. I can only imagine. So let's see. And you don't want to start an engine when it's full of acorns or whatever. So let's take that off. Well, that's not too bad. That's pretty nice, actually. Have a look at that. That intake is not too shabby at all. Probably use that. Let's see here. Although the heat riser's been cut off of it, we can probably still use it as an intake, which is great because you can put it on the engine and then bolt it up, and then of course you can stuff some Kleenex or something down in the rag or something down in the hole, and it keeps the varmints from getting in there. Let's have a look at the other side. The other side is just as clean, pretty nice. So essentially we can probably put that back on, and we will. I got a clamp nut on. I'll have our cylinders lubricated. That distributor's in there. It looks, I have our valve train lubricated. Let's put a wrench on there and see if it moves, see if it goes all the way. If I can get the wrench to go on there. It's a little stiff. Don't want to go any farther than that. Stuck. Don't want to go any farther than that. Backwards, don't want to go any farther than that. I wonder if this one's throwing a rod also. Well, let's find out. Let us find out. I'll tell you how we're going to do that if I can find my small screwdriver, which I can't. Okay, give me a minute. Let me find a screwdriver. Okay, I put a flywheel on the back of this, and some shims, and it's probably not shimmed right, but it'll be okay for right now. And I might look at it and shim it right. I just got to, before I go and start it. I found an old gland nut in a washer. This flywheel here is an 8 dowel, but it's only got 6 dowels holding it on there. It's fine. So just for right now. And what I was thinking is when I was turning it, I was watching it, and the crank would walk. And so if the crank is walking, it's binding on the gear. So let's hope that fixed it. Yeah. There it is. There it is. There it is right there. Okay. I'm going to shoot a little bit more lube down the cylinders. And I've got this piece, if I can find it, while I was picking parts, and I don't know if this will work or not, if it's different, 6-volt, swing axle, whatever, but this is half of a transmission, and what this is for is to mount a starter in that. I'm just looking at that. I don't know if it's got a bushing in it really. Okay, let's try to mount this on here and put a starter on it and see if it'll crank over electrically. Okay, before I get cranking on this, I got things all hooked up. I think I found out what all that white stuff is, and those are from mud daubers. That's exactly what that is. And probably wherever the mud dauber was digging, they had chalk. You know, I mean, chalk is naturally occurring. So the mud dauber is going to make his nest out of whatever he can. Well, I'm going to put this intake back on. That's why all that white stuff was coming out of that other intake, or out of the other head on the other engine. So let me put this intake on there because I need to. If it runs, you know, starts moving, it'll suck stuff in, and I don't want it to suck anything in only through here. So let me get that on there. Trust me, it ain't going that far. Okay. I just blocked this off. I want to see if oil comes out of this hole right here. So we got to put some oil in it. Let's see what I got here. Not a lot. course it's used. I don't care anything about putting good oil in this yet. See if I can find a little bit more. I know that ain't even going to be on a stick. Well, just barely. Let's put another quart in it, and let me find another quart, and we'll crank it, see what happens. Okay, I doubt this will work because this is I think that's a swing axle transmission. It probably will bind. I don't know. Got oil in it, but it's not going to go very far because I don't have an oil cooler on. It's almost full, and the oil cooler isn't on, so I'm expecting oil is going to come out of here. So hopefully we'll have oil coming out of here. If we have oil coming out of there, then we can put the oil cooler on. And I'll need to put a rear main seal and an O-ring on it because it'll puke oil out the back then. But we would have it ready to, almost ready to run. And I have to set the valves. All right, anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, I got power going to it, got the ground on. Let's see what happens. Let me touch it real quick. Okay, okay. All right. Let's see if oil comes out of here now. It does crank. Cool. Hey, look at that. Black gold. Okay, so we are oiling up to there. So let's get the oil cooler on. Let's see here. I'll have to find some seals. I got an oil cooler out of there. I think this is a Brazilian oil cooler, but it's all right. And then let me see here. I've got an O-ring and a main seal. Just an old one I had. It's not an orange one, but it's all right. It'll do for what we need. All right, let's get on that and see what happens. And should be oiling pretty good. So terrific! It cranks over. I can't believe it. This is great. Okay, let's see what's next. Let's get the oil cooler on there. I'm not gonna drain the sump. I'll do that later. Turn it around, drain all the crap out of it, and see what the oil looks like on the other side. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, I need to look underneath there because I need to pull the oil strainer plate off. I need to look and see if it's ate up or not. That's another game changer if it's ate up. And yeah. So okay, let's get the oil cooler on there and the rear main seal, and we can do some valve adjustments or check the valves just to see what's going on. Probably get a fuel system on it then, and do some little timing work and some spark plugs. It might run. Okay, well, this has gone on longer than I expected, so I'm going to make this video in 2 parts, and this is going to be the end of part 1. So again, we're going to need to put check the valves, spark plugs in it, distributor cap, plug wires, a coil, some kind of exhaust to kind of get it out of the side, carburetor. I don't know if I'll do a fuel system or not, and an oil cooler. So, all right, look for part 2, and we'll try to make this run.